My name is Jillian A. Linscott, 28 years old, and the night my boyfriend asked me to give up my seat at a wedding so another woman could take it was the moment I realized I had never truly been his first choice. The humiliation didn't come out of nowhere. It never does. It builds. Quietly. Subtly. One comparison at a time. One small dismissal that you convince yourself doesn't matter. Until it does. When Ethan and I first started dating, everything felt easy. He had just lost his job, was struggling to find his footing, and I stepped in without hesitation, covered rent, helped him rebuild his resume, connected him with people I knew. It didn't feel like a sacrifice. It felt like love. He used to call me his rock, said I made him feel grounded, safe. And for a while, that was enough. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Her name was Tasha. At first, she was just a story. A coworker. Someone from his social circle. Someone fun. She's just easy to be around, he said once. I didn't think much of it, because I trusted him, because I believed in what we had. But trust doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes. Through small moments. Like the way his face lit up when her name popped up on his phone. Or how he started bringing her up more often, comparing us without realizing it. Tasha's so spontaneous. She just goes for things. You'd like her. That last one. That one stayed with me. Because it felt like an invitation. Not into his life, but into a comparison I was already losing. The wedding was supposed to be normal. Just another event. His cousin's big day. Fancy venue. String lights. Family everywhere. I actually looked forward to it. Spent time picking out a dress. Even practiced dancing because I knew he loved it. I thought, maybe this would feel like us again. I was wrong. The ceremony was beautiful. We sat together, held hands, smiled for pictures. Everything looked perfect. Until it didn't. At the reception, things shifted. Subtly at first. Ethan disappeared more often, laughing with people I didn't know. And then, I saw her, Tasha, standing near the bar, laughing, confident, effortless, the kind of presence that fills a room without trying. He walked over to me shortly after, pulled me aside. His tone changed, less warm, more calculated. Hey, he said quietly, don't embarrass me tonight, okay? I blinked. What? This is important. He glanced toward his family. Tasha's great with people. She knows how to handle this kind of thing. I felt something drop in my stomach. I'm here to support you. I know, he said quickly, but just don't dominate conversations. Let her take the lead. There it was. Clear. Undeniable. He wasn't asking me to support him. He was asking me to step aside. Then came the moment. The one that changed everything. There's been a mix-up with seating, he said. Tasha's supposed to be at a bad table. Can you switch with her? I stared at him. At our table? Yeah. She fits better there. That sentence. It didn't just hurt. It clarified everything. Ethan, I'm your girlfriend. And she's my friend, he replied. Like that explained it. Like that justified it. She's been through a lot. Her breakup was rough. She needs this. And suddenly, I understood. It wasn't about seating. It wasn't about the wedding. It was about who mattered. And for the first time, it wasn't me. I looked at him, really looked, and saw something I hadn't wanted to see before. He wasn't choosing between us. He had already chosen. If that's how you feel, I said quietly, then enjoy the night. I turned, walked away. No scene, no argument, no begging. Just leaving. By the time I reached my car, my phone was already buzzing. Calls, messages, voicemails. But I didn't answer, because for the first time, I wasn't confused anymore. I was done. I didn't answer any of his calls on the drive home. Not the first one. Not the fifth. not even the 10th. Each vibration felt like a reminder of something I had finally stopped ignoring. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, my phone had gone quiet. Not because he stopped trying, because I had already made my decision. I sat there for a minute, engine off, hands resting on the steering wheel, letting everything settle. The wedding lights, his voice, that sentence. She fits better there. I exhaled slowly, then reached for my phone, not to call him back, to listen. One by one, I played the voicemails. The first one. Jillian, where are you? What was that? Come back. Confusion. Annoyance, not concern. The second. Seriously? You just left? That was embarrassing. There it was. Embarrassing. Not you're okay? Not I hurt you. Just, you made me look bad. The third message came minutes later. Okay, I get it. You're upset. But it's not a big deal. It was just a seating thing. Just. A word that shrinks everything. Reduces it. Dismisses it. I leaned my head back against the seat, closed my eyes, because I knew what was coming next. The fourth. I didn't mean it like that. Tasha just needed support. You know how she is. Of course I did. I knew exactly how she was. And more importantly, I knew exactly how he was around her. The fifth message cracked slightly, less confident. Jillian, come on. Don't do this. Just talk to me. And finally, the sixth. Silence at first. Then, please. Soft. Uncertain. I didn't mean to hurt you. That one almost landed. Almost. But not enough. Because meaning to hurt someone isn't the same as hurting them. And apologizing isn't the same as understanding. I deleted all 6 messages, not out of anger, out of clarity. Then I turned my phone off, walked inside, and started packing. Not everything, just what mattered. The things that were mine. Clothes, documents, my laptop. A few personal things I hadn't realized I still cared about. I moved slowly, not rushed, not emotional, just certain. Every item I picked up felt like a small decision, a quiet reclaiming of space, of identity, of control. The apartment felt different now, not shared, not ours, just temporary, like I had been passing through something that was never meant to last. On the kitchen counter, I left the key. Next to it, a folded piece of paper. I didn't overthink it. Didn't write a long explanation. Didn't justify anything. Just one sentence. You made your choice. So did I. I looked at it for a second, then turned away. Because there was nothing left to say. I didn't wait for him to come home. Didn't want to see his reaction. Didn't need to. I already knew what it would be. Confusion. Frustration. Eventually, desperation. But that wasn't my responsibility anymore. Ben opened the door before I knocked. He looked at my bag, at my face, and didn't ask questions. Come in. That was enough. I dropped the bag near the couch, sat down, and for the first time all night, I let myself feel it. Not the anger, not the humiliation, something else. Relief. Because the worst part wasn't what he did. It was what I allowed. The silence, the comparisons, the slow shift where I became less important, and told myself it was normal. Now it wasn't. Now it was over. Later that night, I turned my phone back on. Not to call him. To see what came next. The messages had already started. Texts this time. Where are you? Why are your things gone? What is this note? I didn't reply. Didn't open the thread. Just watched the notifications appear. Because for once, I wasn't reacting. I was observing. And what I saw was exactly what I expected. Not understanding. Not accountability. Just panic. Because for the first time, he wasn't in control of the situation. And he didn't know what to do with that. I set the phone down, looked around the quiet room. and realized something simple. Walking away didn't feel like losing something. It felt like finally letting go of something that had already been gone. And that difference changed everything. The next message didn't come that night. It came the next morning. And this time, he didn't call. He texted. Short. Sharp. "So you're just done?" I stared at the screen for a long moment, not because I didn't know the answer, because I realized something. He still thought this was a conversation, a phase, a reaction he could manage. He didn't understand yet. This wasn't something I was working through. This was something I had already decided. I didn't reply. The second message came 10 minutes later. Overseating at a table? There it was. The reduction. The reframing. The attempt to shrink what happened into something small enough to dismiss. I set my phone down, because if I answered that, I would be explaining myself again. And I wasn't doing that anymore. By noon, the tone shifted. "You're overreacting. You embarrassed me in front of my family." I let out a quiet breath. Because even now, even after everything, he still didn't see it. It wasn't about embarrassment. It was about value. And he had already shown me exactly where I stood. The fourth message came an hour later. Longer this time. More emotional. Tasha didn't mean anything by it. She just needed support. "You made it into something it wasn't." That one almost made me laugh. Because it was never about her. It was about him. About what he allowed. About what he prioritized. About the moment he chose someone else's comfort over my dignity. By the end of the day, the messages changed again. Shorter. Less confident. "Can we talk?" I picked up my phone. Read it. Then put it back down. Because the truth was, we already had talked. Over and over again. In different ways. At different times. He just hadn't listened. And I wasn't repeating myself. That night, I slept. Really slept. No tension. No replaying conversations. No wondering if I had done the right thing. Because deep down, I already knew. The next few days passed quietly. I went to work. Focused. Present. For the first time in a long time, my mind wasn't split between my life and someone else's behavior. It was just mine. And that made everything easier. By the end of the week, I found a new place. Small. Bright. Quiet. Exactly what I needed. I signed the lease without hesitation. Because I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for him. Not for clarity. Not for permission. I was moving forward. A week later, I heard what happened at the wedding. Not from him. From a mutual friend. "Tasha stayed at the table." Of course she did. "And your boyfriend?" I didn't answer right away. He looked off. That made sense. Because for the first time, he wasn't getting what he expected. No quiet girlfriend sitting somewhere else. No easy balance. Just absence. And later, my friend hesitated. They argued. I leaned back slightly. "About what?" "She said you overreacted." "And he didn't agree." That caught me off guard. "He defended you?" "Not exactly. But he didn't back her up either." That was new. Late. But new. Then what? They stopped talking after that. I nodded slowly. Because I could see it now. The shift. The moment where everything started to fall apart. Not because I left. Because he no longer had someone smoothing everything over. He had to deal with the consequences himself. And people like him don't handle that well. 2 days later, another message came through. This time, different. "I get it now." I stared at the screen, waited. There was no follow-up, no explanation. Just that. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't believe him, because it didn't change anything. Understanding doesn't undo what happened. It just explains it. And I didn't need explanations anymore. By the end of the second week, I was fully moved in. Boxes unpacked, furniture in place. My space. completely mine. I stood in the middle of the room one evening, looking around, and realized something. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even thinking about him. And that was the real turning point. Because healing doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it just feels like nothing. No pull, no reaction, no weight. Just peace. And peace is quiet. Peace doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks in, quietly. So quietly you almost don't notice it until one day. You realize you haven't thought about them in hours, then days, then longer. That's where I was. Somewhere between remembering and letting go. My new place had started to feel real. Not temporary, not a reaction, but a choice. The mornings were different here. Sunlight through the windows. No tension in the air. No background anxiety waiting to be triggered. Just quiet. I started building routines again. Coffee, work, gym, evenings that didn't revolve around someone else's mood. And somewhere in that rhythm, I found myself again. The version of me that didn't shrink to keep someone else comfortable. The version that didn't explain herself to be understood. The version that knew her boundaries weren't negotiable. A few weeks later, I heard from him again. Not directly. Through someone else. He's asking about you. I didn't react. Why? I don't know. He just seems off. Of course he did. Because something had shifted. Not just for me. For him too. The difference was, I moved forward. He stayed behind. A few days later, I got a message. From a number I didn't recognize. I didn't open it right away. I didn't feel that urgency anymore. That pull. Eventually, I looked. I know you blocked me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, waiting for something. A feeling. A reaction. There wasn't one. Just stillness. The next message came a minute later. Not for the wedding. For everything. That made me pause. Not because it changed anything. Because it was the first time he had said it without conditions. No but, no justification, no explanation. Just apology. I didn't reply. Because I didn't need to. Apologies don't require responses to be valid. They just exist. A week later, he showed up. Not at my door. At my work. That part irritated me. Not because I was scared. Because it crossed a line. Again. I saw him before he saw me, standing near the entrance, looking uncertain, like he didn't belong there. For a moment. I considered walking past him, ignoring it completely. But something told me this needed to end properly. So I walked toward him. Ethan. He turned immediately. And for a second, his face changed. Relief. Then nervousness. I didn't know if you'd talk to me. I didn't either, I said honestly. We stood there for a moment. People walking around us. Life moving. Completely unaffected by whatever this was. I just wanted to say it in person, he said. I'm sorry. I nodded once. I heard you. That's it? He asked. Not accusing, just confused. What were you expecting? I don't know, he admitted. Something more. I shook my head slightly. There isn't anything more. That landed. Harder than anger would have. Because anger gives people something to respond to. Indifference doesn't. I didn't understand before, he said. I thought you were overreacting. I know. I see it now. I studied him for a moment, trying to figure out what I felt. And the answer was simple. Nothing. No anger. No sadness. No attachment. Just distance. I'm glad you do, I said. And I meant it. Not for him. For me. Because understanding closes loops, even if it comes too late. Do you think we could ever? No, I said gently, before he could finish. Not harsh, not defensive. Just final. He nodded slowly. I figured. We stood there for another second. Then I stepped back. Take care of yourself. You too. And that was it. No drama. No scene. No second chances. Just ending. Real ending. The kind you don't question later. That night, I sat in my apartment. Same spot by the window. Same quiet. But something felt different. Not lighter. Not heavier. Just complete. Because closure doesn't come from the other person. It comes from you. And I had already found it. Long before he showed up. 6 months later. It didn't feel like recovery anymore. It felt like a different life. Not better in some dramatic, cinematic way. Just steadier. Quieter. Mine. The apartment no longer felt like a place I escaped to. It felt like a place I had chosen. The mornings were simple. Coffee by the window. Soft light cutting across the floor. No tension sitting in my chest waiting for something to go wrong. No second-guessing my own feelings. Just clarity. Work had changed too. Not the job. Me. I stopped over-explaining. Stopped shrinking my opinions to make them easier to accept. Stopped waiting for validation before trusting myself. The promotion turned into something bigger. Leadership. Responsibility. Confidence. And for the first time, I didn't question whether I deserved it, because I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. Ben still checked in. Less often now. Not because anything was wrong, because everything was stable. You're different, he said one evening, leaning against the kitchen counter. I think I just stopped tolerating things that didn't feel right. That's a pretty big shift. I smiled slightly. Yeah, it is. A few weeks later, I ran into Ethan again. Not planned, not emotional, just normal. He was standing outside a bookstore, talking to someone, laughing. And for a second, I saw the version of him I used to know, the one I had fallen for. Then he saw me. The laughter faded slightly. Not awkward, not dramatic, just aware. Hey, he said. Hey. We stood there for a moment. No urgency, no tension. Just two people who had once been something to each other. You look good, he said. Thanks. You too. And that was true. He looked okay. Not broken. Not thriving. Just moving forward. Things good? He asked. Yeah. I nodded. They are. He smiled. Small. Genuine. I'm glad. We didn't talk about the past. Didn't revisit anything. Didn't try to rewrite what happened. Because there was nothing left to fix. That part was already done. Take care, Jillian. You too. And that was it. No lingering. No second thoughts. Just closure. Later that night, I thought about it. Not him. The feeling. Or rather, the lack of one. Because that's how I knew it was real. Not the breakup. Not the decision. The absence. No pull. No regret. No curiosity about what could have been. Just peace. I stood by the door before locking it. The same small habit. The same quiet moment. But it meant something different now. Once, that door was something I closed to protect myself from chaos. Now, it was something I closed because everything inside was worth protecting. My space. My life. My choices. Mine. I turned the lock, walked back into the room, and sat down. My dog curled up beside me without thinking, like she had always been there, like she always would be. And I realized something I hadn't said out loud yet, not even to myself. I didn't lose him. I outgrew him. My name is Jillian A. Linscott. I once loved someone who made me feel like my boundaries were negotiable, like respect was something I had to earn. I thought if I stayed patient, understanding, flexible, it would be enough. It wasn't. Walking away wasn't the hardest part. Staying away was. But staying away is where everything changed. because the moment I stopped trying to be enough for someone else, I became enough for myself. And that was the beginning of everything.